This is Spider-Man number 2, written and drawn by legendary prophet of comics, Todd McFarlane. This is part 2 of the Torrent storyline, and we have got Spider-Man. He is fighting Lizard Man on the cover, and that is what happens inside. When it comes to this story, most people really only analyse the first issue or the story as a whole, and they didn't really look at the issues and their individual strengths, and this one is probably one of the better ones. Lizard Man, he has been driven crazy by the annoying drum pounding of voodoo woman Calypso, and now he has gone on a murdering spree, gunning around and killing random people. Here he is doing just that across 2 pages. Meanwhile, Spider-Man, he is with his supermodel wife, Mary James, and they probably have just had sex, or they are about to have sex, because it was the 90s, but then Spider-Man, he reads about Lizard Man in the paper, and he postpones the sex to go and stop him instead. We have got the classic Mary James stuff, with her worrying about her husband maybe not coming back this time. Then we have got Calypso. Unfortunately, the really annoying drum beating, it's a fixture for nearly all of this issue as well. And when it comes down to it, the issue, it plays to Todd McFarlane's strengths, because the rest is just a long fight between Spider-Man and Lizard Man. I can see Todd's built-in audience enjoying this, and even subjectively, it's better than the first issue, as we have got some actual stuff happening. One thing is that Todd, he's a bit of an edgelord with his graphic violence. There's nothing unpleasant here, but it's clear he wants to do stuff like that. Lizard Man, he ends up impaled on a spike, and Spider-Man thinks that he has killed him, and he gets overwhelmed with all the usual Spider-Man guilt. Then we have got Mary James dancing in a nightclub. You go, girl. And Calypso, she has poisoned Spider-Man with a mind-altering chemical, and Spider-Man, he starts going to a dark place. And it's probably too late to try and fill us in on Lizard Man's origin, to be honest. He was a scientist who lost his arm, then he created a serum derived from lizards to regrow lost limbs, but it transformed him into Lizard Man. And while Spider-Man is tripping his balls off, he thinks the rain is like blood, and then he is confronted right at the end by Lizard Man, who is not dead, and it's to be continued. It's still the case that we are very slowly getting through the story, but I will attest the pacing is much improved over the first issue. I think starting with the next issue, we get letters written in, and they are almost always horribly abusive to Todd McFarlane. This book is an artist's book, and while there have definitely been worse cases of an artist trying his hand at writing, this doesn't rank as the best. I think Todd McFarlane, even though he's certainly a genius, he really would have benefited from a co-scripter or a co-plotter. Let him do this story, but just have someone add a bit more depth to the events. I think that someone like Jim Tomatoes, he'd really nail all the inner philosophical stuff that Todd is trying to do but isn't really doing a great job with. Todd McFarlane, he doesn't have to do much writing for this one. It's mostly a fight, and the art is great, no doubt about that. Though after the first issue, you do start to see him slide a bit and employ the usual tricks to get art done in time, like covering stuff with shadows or not drawing backgrounds or avoiding detail, but it's not at the point where it is distracting, and the shadows and stuff, it somewhat fits the tone of this story. I'm going to give the second issue a 7 thumbs up.